Big economic news is coming out of the global south. India, which buys Russian oil, are increasingly being asked to pay for the oil in yuan or renminbi, the Chinese currency. It's generally speaking a very new occurrence. Normally, the international currency used for trade is dollars. For those who don't know, when countries trade for large amounts of anything at a state level, oil and gas are great examples because countries always need it to power, their countries for their energy needs. They have to choose a currency that the buying country has enough of and the seller country wants, right? Usually for stability, reliability, and the ability to use the new currency you've just received elsewhere, use it to spend, countries demand the dollar. Now, this is a symbol of hegemonic, dominant control, the position the US has played on the world stage for at least the last couple of decades. The superpower with no equal, whose currency is as good as gold, quite literally. When it was gold backed, now it's a bit different. But now, as a perfect example of how American dominance is slipping and China's dominance is rising, countries are more and more frequently trading their resources for a new currency, the Chinese yuan. You want now? Sorry, that was a terrible joke. You want some currency? Sorry. Okay, I'll stop. Sorry. Now, why are they doing this? Well, the biggest reason is quite straightforward. China has no history of using its currency as a political weapon. China's non-interventionist state policy when it comes to governance models of other countries largely has meant they don't act the same way America or former imperial colonial predecessors in Europe, like the UK and France, the way they act. America, for example, uses the dollar as a stick, right? They beat other countries with that stick. It's an economic weapon as a means to control who they can control or try to suppress. Iran and Russia being the two arguably most well-known examples. North Korea, another one. You don't agree with the government of a country, sanction them, right? Embargo them and use the dollar to pressure these economies or any economies of a nation considered hostile to America. Don't let them use the dollar, say that you can't trade with this country in the dollar, otherwise we will restrict our access to the dollar for you. All kinds of economic machinations. But that seems to be rapidly changing. America recently punished India, for example, with added tariffs, up to 50% tariffs, because not because of an economic reason, but a political reason, right? Because India was asked to stop buying Russian oil, to which they said, "How about you mind your own business, huh? How we could do what we want, and you do what you want. How about that? While I buy some Russian oil, you go buy whatever you want, right?" Now, India wants to buy and sell that oil in yuan. It's like a further dig. Russia as well. It makes sense, as they can then use that yuan to buy stuff off China or some other country that has a desire to buy stuff from China. You can use the yuan on them, and then they can use the yuan to buy stuff from China, completely cutting the US out of a portion of foreign currency transactions, especially centered in East Asia. Where the global South nations are basically saying the US has no business here. We don't need to use your currency as a middleman. We have my currency. The Chinese have their currency. We'll just deal with one of our currencies, right? And that's not, don't even get me started on a potential BRICS currency. Oh my God, that's a completely separate. Anyway, we'll just move on. Spoiler alert, the BRICS nations of the global South are considering the setup of a unique currency to basically unseat the dollar from its throne. We'll talk about that later. We're dealing amongst ourselves. That seems to be the mindset of these global South countries more and more. And we don't need the dollar for that. Mind you, just clarifying something, before some people completely lose their minds in my comments, especially, the American, no, no, no. Well, that's the Soviet national anthem, so no, not that. God, that's the British national anthem. Oh, say can I got it eventually? Yeah. Okay. Now, mind you, the dollar is still dominant. That's what I want to say. No question about it, right? Geopolitics, though, is about trajectories. Where are things going? And the trajectory of the dollar, much like the trajectory of the US, is clear. It's the currently dominant currency and nation but they're both falling stars. Less use of the dollar moving forward will mean the US has less financial leverage on those countries ditching the currency, which will mean the US doesn't have the same ability to politically or economically, or a combination of both, to pressure those countries in the way they previously could. For better or worse, it will mean less control for the US, and it will mean more independence, more freedom to operate in a way that the US may not be happy with for the countries that rely less on the dollar. And in the multipolar world we are all sliding into, for better or worse, the developing economies of the global south stand to benefit greatly from not being overly reliant on the whims and the wishes of the White House in Washington. See what I did there with the alliteration, those 4 W's there. If that's not a dub, I don't know what is. Sorry. For the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfouz, and I'll see you on the next one. That was a really weird intonation. Oh well.